Hello, it's 9 p.m. in RTD. It's time to English New Edition. For tonight headlines, we have the head of state in honors of French Senate. The launching of National Strategy for Financial Inclusion 2021-2026. For the international scene, the European Union is seeking a second round of vaccinations in the face of COVID-19. Welcome to our newsroom. Important moment for the first day of the official visit of the President of the Republic, Ismail Omar Guelleh, who is successively going to the MEDEF headquarters for the economic section, followed by solemn meetings at the French Senate, and finally a meeting with the Secretary of the Organisation International for the Francophonie. In the Senate, the President of the Republic received a warm welcome with honors present by the Republican Guard, including a horse-mounted peloton and a music peloton, accompanied by the Minister of Foreign Affairs Mahmoud Ali Yusuf and the President of the Djibouti-France Friendship Group. In the parliament, the former Prime Minister Dileita Mohamed Dileita, the ambassador of the Djibouti ambassador to France, the President Guelleh was received on the Senate steps by the Vice President of the Senate, Roger Camouchi. Afterward, the President of the Republic signed the Golden Book of the French Senate, followed by official talks with the representative of the Senate. The talks were frank and cordial way and means of strengthening cooperation between Djibouti and France were at the center of the discussions. Finally, the visit of the French Senate of the President of the Republic was closed by a lunch offered by the President of the Senate, Mr. Anglais, on the occasions of the official visit of President Ismail Omar Guelleh to France for 3 days.
Une section de fantassins, 2 escouades de cavalerie, ensemble placés sous les ordres de la capitaine Poliès de la garde républicaine.
midnimada habboon iyo shacbigu wada jirku haysto alla guulaha aad soo hoysabay ugu horeeyaane halyaygii jabuuto alla halyaygii jabuuto ducaan kaaga dhigahile samow abo haybadiyo kalaamadu waawa hibo ilaahaye ada hilika omaro yaqaan hawl kastoo adage hayin lagu adhaadhaatiyo geesi hawl karahe odaalahaan doorano hedel samow abo
The President of the Republic, Ismail Omar Guelleh, started his official visit with the economic aspect, where he met and discussed at the headquarters of the main French employers' organizations, MEDEF. President Guelleh had a first face-to-face meeting with the President of MEDEF International, Geoffroy Roux de Bézieux, who welcomed him on his arrival at the headquarters. A man who knows the Djibouti Republic well, this very interesting meeting for both parties is likely to start a new partnership between Djibouti and MEDEF, the main French employers organization, which intervenes in many African countries. Continuing his visit to MEDEF headquarters, President Gelle took part in a meeting of the France East African Business Council in the presence of the president of the international branch of MEDEF, Philippe Labonne. This important meeting focused on the economic aspect took place with the President of the Republic and the strong participations of the representative of MEDEF and the Djiboutian delegation accompanying the head of state, including the President of the Port and Free Zone Authority, the representative of the BCI, Abdallah Ibrahim, and also Vice President of MEDEF, the representative of the Djibouti Chamber of Commerce and Industry, President of the Chamber of Commerce of Djibouti, Djiboutian businessman including Mr. Burhan Ali Gadile, President of Shap Transit Express, Mr. Saïd Dalwais, President of the group Kamaj Mohamed Hussein Roble, and representative of the public institutions including Jama Ali Gelle, Director General of EDD, Foreign Ministers Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, Ambassador of Djibouti in France, Ayed Mousad Yahye, were at the side of the President of the Republic during meeting with the main French employers organization MEDEF. The French ambassador to Djibouti, Arnaud Guillois, was part of the meeting. Discussions and exchanges were frank with the sharing of values and mutual benefits conducive to the development of the Djiboutian and French private sectors. For his part, the head of MEDEF International participating in the enlarged meeting wished the warm welcome to the President of the Republic, and he specified that the MEDEF is very interested in investing in Djibouti in partnership with the Djiboutian companies. The President of the Republic, Ismail Omar Guelleh, said in a speech, I am particularly happy to be here in Paris by your presence, and first of all, I would like to thank you warmly to have moved despite the contrast imposed by the situation sanitary in these particularly difficult, uncertain, and challenging times. The demanding we all need to stay the course, maintain medium-term projects and ambitions, and prepare for the future afterwards. In this context, my remarks will be frank and direct. Djibouti is a land of future and opportunities, and we want France and the French companies are actively participating in the development of these opportunities. Today, I would like to present the platforms that we have built to develop our exceptional exchanges, and what is more, remains the only French-speaking platform to several thousand kilometers around, with the exceptions of a few companies and with the exceptions of a few great friends who know our countries very well, as President Geoffroy does de Bézieux. France has made many other topics, international expansion and East Africa, until recently had not been a big part of it. I believe that the will of the President Macron and that of many companies these days are over. That is I would like to engage with you today in a frank and uncomplicated dialogue that will enable us all to move forward and endorse a partnership that is based on the values we share about mutual benefits and the balance of our interests. As you know, our meeting this morning is not the right time to discuss the first of its kind. Some of you are already familiar with Djibouti. What you may know less is that our port has become one of the three most important in Africa on the main road worldwide, with Dubai and Tangier. What you may know less is that 8 submarine telecommunication cables land in Djibouti, and that our financial system is the most stable in the region. Our currency is in fixed parity with the dollar. It is convertible without restrictions. There are no exchange control or dual currency markets, and in a region where external payments are a subject of concern, our money supply has 110% coverage in hard currency, and our commercial banking systems hold the equivalent of 15% of GDP in external assets. If our banks are overlooked is that we are not just a hub logistics, we have become a financial hub. Our project investments in fiber optic and data networks are underway. Centers will add an indispensable role as digital hubs. You have no doubt noticed that we have gained 55 places by 2018 in the World Bank Doing Business ranking, a development that the bank had never observed in the same at the times of International Monetary Fund was revaluing of our GDP to 38% precisely because it had no recorded development of the industries nor the exact measuring the dynamics of telecommunications. These evaluations of Djibouti, we have built it, the people of Djibouti have built it, Djibouti built it. Our vision to 2035 is that a diversified economy. We do not want a single logistic specialization is the future of the whole continent, just as ours is at the times of industrializations. Our industrial free zone now account for 20% of GDP. They create added value both for goods that transit through our ports, that for raw material from the hinterland, and that they transforms and condition for the re-export. They from the largest group of parks industrial frank of the continent in these zones see African and Asian companies. I welcome this. I would see willingly to from European companies. They are expected, tax supported and desired. Our current development model is consistent to take advantages, but the balance of our economy is also a matter social. An economy cannot simply be extroverted. It must be inclusive and meet basic needs and well-being populations. I believe that here again we want Europe's presence, and particularly that of France. Yes, we need investment. Yes, we have created an ecosystem to welcome them and make them profitable. But we need more than that. We need socially responsible investment and social infrastructure. We need companies that are active in all areas: health, education, tourism, compartments, and we need companies with a high social impact. The Prime Minister Abdulqadir Kamil Mohammed, acting head of government, received on Thursday, February 11, in the Prime Minister VIP Lounge, Mr. Marcel Clemente Akpovo, regional representative of the regional offices, a High Commissioner for Human Rights for East Africa. After the word of welcomes, the two men discussed together the existing partnership between the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights and the Republic of Djibouti, and according to the priorities of the Djibouti government, and how best to strengthen cooperation ties, improve the capacity of national actors to develop the human, financial, and institutional resources necessary for the implementations of law and the integrations of human rights in the administrations of justice. The regional representative of the offices of United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights welcomed the effort and political will of the Djibouti government to implement the legal framework and conditions guaranteeing national human rights protection. Despite the challenges that are not specific to the Republic of Djibouti, he said the country is one of the few to be up to date in the implementation and enforcement of international mechanisms and instruments to comply with international treaty commitment. The meeting was also attended by Ms. Barbara Manzi, resident coordinators of the United Nations system in Djibouti, Florina Frey, assistant administrators and associate specialists in human rights, and on the Prime Minister's side, Mr. Ali Sillai Abdallah, Chief of Staff of the Prime Minister. The Camp Sheikh Ousmane Sissou hosted an important working and consultation meeting on security on Thursday, 11 February 2021, co-chaired by the Minister of Defense in charge of relations with Parliament, Hassan Omar Mohammed Burhan, and the Minister of Interior, Mumin Ahmed Sheikh. The meeting was attended by the Chief of State General Staff Armed Forces General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, the Chief of the Defense Staff General Tahiru Ali Mohammed, the Chief of the National Gendarmerie, the Director General of the National Police, senior officers of the General Staff. This working and consultation meeting aimed to discuss ways and means of strengthening the security of the countries and the sub-regions while exchanging information. In recent years, the Horn of Africa region has been plagued by strong instability. In this difficult context, Djibouti is an exception and haven, a haven of peace in the tormented region. It is therefore essential to coordinate our forces to face and overcome the security challenges in the region. The Sheraton Hotel yesterday hosted a workshop on the presentations of the National Financial Inclusion Strategy 2021-2026. Financial inclusion, a set of measures to combat banking exclusion. Indeed, it is the possibility for Djiboutians to ensure equitable access to formal financial products and services, transactions, payments, saving, financing, and insurance within their means in order to promote economic and social inclusion. Thus, financial inclusion of the entire population is the sine qua non conditions for reducing poverty and promoting prosperity for all. It is important to stress that the mission of this national strategy is not only financial. The key objective is to empower people to improve equitable access for vulnerable populations to innovative and sustainable financial services that can help change their standard of living. For his part, the governor of the central bank, Mr. Ahmed Osman, for his part, emphasized that financial inclusion is a catalyst for economic growth and a powerful vector of development, in that it facilitates the participation of at least the least well-off social strata in the creation of wealth in our countries. And finally, the Minister of Economy and Finance, Ilyas Moussa Dawale, in his speech affirmed that the national strategy of financial inclusion will be a real lever for economic and social development in order to better integrate those excluded from the traditional financial systems. In developing the draft strategy you have before you today, we have undertaken a consultative process with national stakeholders from government and civil society to ensure that the voice of the end customers of financial services are heard. The Minister of Energy in charge of Natural Resources, Yunis Ali Geddi, received yesterday afternoon his Kenyan counterpart, Charles Kite. The two high-ranking politicians sponsored today at Kempinski Palace the signing of a contract agreement between the Djibouti offices for the development of geothermal energy, and the discussion is focused on strengthening energy cooperation between the two countries, welcoming the excellent relations of friendship and cooperation in all files between Nairobi and Djibouti. Mr. Yunis Ali Geddi and his host reaffirmed on this occasion their unwavering commitment to further strengthen this dynamic of understanding. Afterward, the delegation visited the Djibouti Port and Free Zone Authority platforms and DMP. The Republic of Djibouti, through the Ministry of Women and Family, organized on Wednesday, February 11 at the Institute of Diplomatic Studies via video conference the conference of the 40 sessions of Arab Women's Committee in Djibouti. This international conference of Arab women is an event organized every year by the ministries responsible for the studies of women of the member state in coordination with the Arab League, and for the first time our country was designated to chair this committee for the year 2021. This meeting, chaired by the Minister of Women and Family Affairs, Momina Ahmed Hassan, in her capacity as chair of the committee, was attended by the Director of Arab World Department, of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Minister of Gender and of the Arab League member state, as well as the representative of the United Nations regional offices and technical financial partners. The objective of this regional conference is to discuss the progress made, priorities, areas, and obstacles encountered by member states on issues relating to the improvement of the status of women in the Arab countries. For her part, the Minister of Women and Family, Momina Ahmed Hassan, after the designated of the Arab Women's Committee, the city of as the capital of Arab women is in the year 2021-2022. During this session, the point discussed focused on the event taking place in the Arab countries, which unfortunately forced the population to become more vulnerable, especially the conditions of women and children living in conflict zones where their situation requires special attention. It is with deep sadness that we learn the death of Faisal Osman Abu Bakr, who was reminded of God yesterday. Born in 1965, the deceased was the state customer officer in the Radawa and main cashier for Air Djibouti. The late Faisal Osman is the brother of the former Djibouti real estate manager Abu Bakr Osman and the uncle of our journalists, our colleagues Abu Abdi. We offer our sincere condolence to the family of the loved ones of the deceased. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. For the international scene, Ursula von der Leyen admits EU shortcomings on vaccines aimed at by a barrage of criticisms. European Commission's President Ursula von der Leyen acknowledged on Wednesday before parliamentarians the shortcomings that have delayed the COVID-19 vaccination campaigns in Europe. Too optimistic, the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, acknowledged on Wednesday, 10 February, before shortcoming on the part of the European Union in the fight against the coronavirus, admitting that the EU had fallen behind in the vaccinations campaign with delivery delays and arms deal with laboratories, including AstraZeneca. Ursula von der Leyen said 26 million doses of vaccines had now been distributed across the 27 EU countries, and 70% of European adults should have been vaccinated by the end of the summer. This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us. Have a good evening.